Poonam Burde. Let's get you started on this edition with what's happening in the neighborhood, and that is with Pakistan. We all know the kind of economic crisis Pakistan is reeling under. Unemployment is at the highest levels, inflation is at the highest levels as well. And now the Pakistani military has intervened. We're now learning that Pakistan's Chief of Army Staff, General Asim Munir, held an important meeting with several business honchos in Karachi just a short while ago. He outlined what economic policies need to be undertaken, what policies need to be overturned to ensure that there is a change in the fortunes of Pakistan's economy. This development comes at a time when Pakistan's traders are on a strike against the soaring cost of living. Let's get you across to some of the details of what exactly has happened as far as this meeting goes. Let's take a look at this. The Pakistani Army Chief met with 60 prominent businessmen in Karachi. That's the latest, with the Pakistani Army now ensuring that they take the calls as far as the economic woes are concerned. Policies that will help boost the economy were discussed by the Pakistani Army Chief, not by the caretaker government or the Prime Minister. Concerns over smuggling activities was also raised during this meeting. What the concerns were of these businessmen, what the solutions had to be found, all of which was discussed. Deliberations on foreign investment prospects was also discussed by the Army Chief. It's not by the civilian government but by the military establishment of Pakistan that we're seeing these kind of discussions and deliberations being held. For the first time, India and Kashmir was not discussed, as surprising as that may sound to many, but this time around the focus of the Pakistani Army Chief was solely on the economy. So let's take a look at why exactly this meeting took place and what was the outcome of it. The assurance that came to the fore from this particular meeting was that a stable business environment will be created. That's the assurance that came to the fore from the businessmen that the Pakistani Army Chief was meeting with. Steps will be taken to curb illicit trade is also what the assurance was from the government, wanting to build more confidence in these investors, in these businessmen. Stop dollarization and strengthen the Pakistani currency. Remember, it's at an all-time low as far as the Pakistani rupee is concerned. What else was assured is that there has to be a commitment to reform the parallel economy. That commitment needs to come from both the army and the caretaker government in Pakistan. That's the assurance that was sought by these businessmen during that meeting. Book individuals who are not filing taxes. That is also an action that needs to be taken that can only act as a deterrent and strengthen the economy. So that assurance also came to the fore during this particular meeting. State-owned enterprises have to be privatized. That could help with more investments coming in from outside. That is something, perhaps a booster dose of sorts, that the Pakistani economy needs. Sikh units to be transferred to private entities. It cannot remain with the government anymore. Private entities have to come in. It is only then there can be some amount of change as far as the Pakistani economy went. Now, these recent developments coming to the fore are reminiscent of what happened during Ziaul Haq's time as well. This is something that happened from 1978 to 1988. There was this time when the military establishment was meddling with all sorts of non-military aspects as far as the economy was concerned, as far as governance was concerned. So this is exactly what happened back then. We're now seeing a reminder of that. So let's take a look at what exactly had happened back then. In 1986 in Karachi, Ziaul Haq met businessmen. He discussed ways to boost the economy. Similar what we saw to happen over this weekend in Karachi yet again by General Asim Munir. In 87 in Lahore, Ziaul Haq met with some industrialists back then. Pakistan's energy crisis was what was on agenda back then. This was something that was discussed this time around as well. So Pakistan's military now playing an important role, now taking matters into its own hands. Abhishek, my colleague, joining us, getting us more details on this. Now, Abhishek, it's not surprising that the Pakistani military has decided to call the shots on the economic front as well. This is something that the Pakistani military establishment has done on multiple occasions.
Well, Poonam, this is yet another testimony as to who actually runs the Pakistan, its economy, its affairs and day-to-day life. The meeting between the Army Chief and the leading business figures at the Army's Corps headquarters in Lahore, it has come at a time when Pakistan is grappling with severe economic crisis, with the national currency at a historic low. We have seen Pakistani currency going below 300 rupees per dollar. We just saw in a recent week, Pakistan has got some sort of relief by International Monetary Fund, which has released the latest tranche of relief to Pakistan. And after that, that was followed by China, UAE and Saudis also putting some money in Pakistan's forex. So that has kind of stopped Pakistan from defaulting on its sovereign debt and with a depleting forex reserve. But At the same time, this also tells another story that whether Pakistan is again going back to army dictatorship where the civilian government is just a face saver and the real policy decision, including economic crisis, including security situation in the country, will be decided and deliberated by the army generals.
Right, so the army there calling the shots. This time it's on the economic front as far as Pakistan is concerned. For the moment, Abhishek, thank you so much for getting us the latest on this. But more news is now trickling in from Pakistan and from the role of the military establishment there. What CNN News 18 has picked up via its sources there is that we now learn that Nadeem Anjum's tenure as the DG ISI has now been extended. This is a decision that has been taken on the back of the meeting with businessmen that was conducted by the army chief over the weekend in Karachi. This is in continuation of that. This is to ensure that there is a tandem relationship that goes on between the ISI, between the army and those who are now trying to facilitate a boost in the economy as far as Pakistan is concerned. So Nadeem Anjum's tenure was supposed to finish this week is what we're learning, but that has now been extended. It is seen as a comfortable equation between the Pakistani army chief and the DGISI. It's also to an extent that Nawaz Sharif is comfortable with this particular move. Is that the sign of what's to come as far as Pakistan's polity is concerned? That's also a question that many are raising. These are the details that we're now gathering from our sources within Pakistan. Strategic Affairs expert Dr. Monica Verma now joining us here on this broadcast. Thank you so much for speaking with us here, Dr. Verma. The kind of changes that we are seeing as far as Pakistan is concerned, as far as the economy is concerned, it's no surprise that the Pakistani military establishment is calling the shots. They've done this covertly or overtly on every single issue.
I think this is not something which is happening only now. I was just listening to the news while you were speaking, and I think it's a long-drawn problem. In fact, my own PhD thesis is focused on Pakistan's political economy and the way this country has shaped itself and the way this country has run its economy. It is not only worrying, but it's deeply troubling for free enterprise and entrepreneurs in Pakistan that every single issue, whether it is related to new infrastructure or new investment, or the way they handle their economic crisis as well. This is something where army is always playing a huge role. And many scholars have worked on this with some fantastic work by Aisha Siddiqa, where she's worked on how whether it is capital in terms of land or some big factory establishments, all of them, they are controlled by the Pakistani military. So this is a problematic thing in Pakistan. It has always led to corruption. And we have seen in India also, during socialism, during our days of socialism, how the government officers, they were corrupt and they were not able to, ensure that every, the business interests are fulfilled. So that type of crony capitalism has always been there in Pakistan. It's not something which is new. All they need is just an excuse in order to make sure that their stake in the economy increases. They are ready to take even violent measures to do that. In fact, we are in India, and we ourselves have been a witness to how Pakistan, especially the military, their security establishment, has always played a veto card whenever it comes to healthy and normal trade relations between India and Pakistan. Right. They never allow their country to have a normal neighborly relationship. In fact, when Afghanistan was again taken over by Taliban, then also there was a problem of supplying them food, and we wanted certain transit rights. They are so insecure. The military leaders are so insecure. They do not want to open the Pakistani territory so that India can at least give some sort of humanitarian aid to the Afghans. So I think they have this insecure mindset. They always want to control all the resources that are there in Pakistan, so that people, especially the business leaders, they never get a chance to have a free enterprise. And I'm not saying this just because there are news reports. I myself, for my PhD thesis, have conducted an extensive research into it. I have spoken to, luckily I was fortunate enough that I could speak to many big Pakistani business leaders, and all of them, since their country is a closed country, it's not a democracy like ours, but they still, in private, they have confided in me and they have told me how difficult it is for them to do business. a huge market opportunities there in India. They are looking at the Indian economy. They are looking at the Indian market,
India has
and
reigned
they
at
do.
Pakistan's expense on many an occasion, and Pakistan is finally now wanting to do something about it because it's a dire situation. The caretaker government is in place, but clearly it's out of their hands, which is why the military establishment has also now stepped in. Dr. Verma, do stay on with me. Senior journalist from Pakistan, Faraz Saeed, also joining us here on this broadcast. So thank you so much for speaking with us here on CNN News 18. I want to begin by asking you, why exactly are we seeing the military establishment get into the economic front, take decisions as far as building confidence in investors or businessmen goes?
Military has always part of integral decision-making process in Pakistan, be it during military regimes or even during political governments. What we've seen in the past 2 years that there has been really upsetting political uncertainty. A governing government has been sent home. A coalition government was installed as a puppet regime, and of course, when there is no political mandate with the government, when there is no political certainty, there are institutions which step in, and because military has been a power to reckon with, military has to step in, and they're stepping in as a front runner in deciding future for Pakistan's economy.
Right, but as far as the economy is concerned, a lot of questions were raised as far as the military budget, the military expenditure also goes. Something that the IMF also had sort of a deal breaker of sorts, because of which the IMF did not crack a deal with Pakistan the last time they were around. So perhaps when the military does step in, the something that should be on their mind is also their own expenditure and how that is burning a hole in the pockets of the coffers there.
You see, as much as I would love to ridicule military's intervention into political or economic, dynamics, Pakistan's military has been integral part of its defenses. I mean, we have an active western border where Taliban has taken over Afghanistan again, and we have been fighting a very lethal war. I mean, a war that was to reckon with. It posed an existential crisis to Pakistan, and Pakistan has been fighting a very lethal war. We've lost about $70 billion to the economy. We've lost thousands of lives, civilians and military. Therefore, military budget is justified because, again, if we do not push enough amount of budget to the military, we will face an existential crisis, and that's a very it's a fact of the day. When we and there's a notion that military consumes a large amount of budget. Some quote that it's more than 50%. Some says it's 60%. It's absolutely false. Military constitutes about 21% of the total budget, and it's the debt servicing that consumes hell lot of money from our budget. I mean, so when it comes to budget that is constituted to the military, I think it's fair and justified because, again, it poses an existential crisis when it comes to terror, and that military is fighting an active war for the past 10 years.
Absolutely, and that's not the only war, if I could use that term a little loosely, with liberty. As far as Pakistan is concerned, the economic front is not the only place where Pakistan's crises are deepening. I request you both to stay on with us because we want to get into another aspect as far as what is happening in Pakistan, and there seems to be signs of a civil war, or at least threat of a civil war as far as the Gilgit Baltistan region is concerned. Over the weekend, we've seen several thousand people that have hit the streets in protest. There is sectarian violence, sectarian protests that we are now seeing across Gilgit Baltistan. This happened after a Shia cleric was booked for blasphemy, after which we saw chorus of how Gilgit Baltistan and POK should merge with India. That chorus was taking place on the streets of Pakistan, on the streets of Gilgit Baltistan for the last 2 days. That's what we've seen happen. The fight there is about how the caretaker government is not caring as to what is transpiring between these sections of society there, between the Shias and the Sunnis, which is why we're seeing this kind of protest, this kind of violence break out there. Abhishek, my colleague, joining us, getting us more details as far as this violence, this protest go. Abhishek, we've seen several slogans that have been raised during the course of that protest in Gilgit Baltistan there. Many are calling for a merger with India. Many are saying that we don't want to go to even POK. We don't want to go to Sindh either because the situation is pretty much the same. We want to march all the way to Kargil.
Well, there has been so many reports in the recent weeks where we have seen Pakistani people, especially in Gilgit Baltistan, calling out state policy there, state persecution there. The state has been using brute force to suppress the voice of people there. In fact, in the recent months, there have been multiple protests demanding basic amenities, basic facilities of life, schools, colleges, and hospitals. And also, the inflation was so high that the rising price of food was so high that people did not have enough money to buy food. And on top of it, there was the food. There was a short supply of food as well. There were reports of trucks loaded with food items being looted by people so that before they could get something to have for their own home. So this has been a condition in Gilgit Baltistan for a very long time now, and the latest protest, which is happening in the after a Shia cleric was arrested and put behind the bar in the name of blasphemy, is another example how the laws by the state are being used to persecute, to suppress the voice of people in that region. There has been multiple incidences in the past, and now the security situation in the region has been beefed up. The government officials and the ministers have been saying that the situation is very much calm, but the visuals are clearly an example as to what kind of protests are happening on the streets of Gilgit Baltistan, demanding some accountability from the state of Pakistan.
Right, the state of affairs in Pakistan are dire. The government, the caretaker government there, the politicians who are wanting a term there all need to come to consensus as to how to deal with this. For the moment, Abhishek, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that. But let's take a look at some more news that's pouring in as far as the Gilgit Baltistan region is concerned. Even as thousands of people are marching in protest, as you see on your screens there, we're now learning that the government has asked Pakistan to vacate illegally occupied Kashmir. They've highlighted the situation there, that of Jammu and Kashmir, where people are happy with the development. So that's the kind of comparison that is being drawn as far as the situation in Pakistan is concerned, and Jammu and Kashmir specifically, and the kind of progress that has been made. This is what we've learned from a top government source, which is revealed to News 18, that India has now slammed the Pakistani administration over the kind of protests that we've seen. Remember, Gilgit Baltistan, POK, something that India often speaks of, even in power corridors there. We're now learning that the protests that were witnessed over the weekend is also something that has been taken note of. Let's take you across to what exactly we've gathered from our sources within the government. Let's take a look at what exactly it is, what kind of messaging has been sent across to now the administration there. At the moment, it is a caretaker government. There will be elections that will be held in Pakistan. But let's take a look at what exactly these reasons are, or what the message really is that has been sent to the Pakistani administration. The kind of messaging is that look at Jammu and Kashmir, the same Kashmir that you harp on, but see the kind of progress, the kind of developmental works that have taken place, and look at the situation, compare it to what's happening in different parts of Pakistan, like that of Gilgit Baltistan, like that of POK. My guests continue to be with us. Dr. Monica Verma is with us on this broadcast. So is the Pakistani journalist Faraz Saeed. Faraz Saeed, I want to get you in the kind of protests that we've seen in Gilgit Baltistan over the last 2 days. How do you read into this? Is this something that the Pakistani administration feels will die down in a matter of a few days, or is this going to be the new headache for them?
Shia-Sunni divide has always been a sort of a ground where Pakistan has faced fault lines, and these fault lines, there have attempts have been made in the past to trigger those fault lines. What is happening in Gilgit and parts of Skardu and Chilas is that a Shia cleric is accused of using blasphemous language, and therefore he was arrested, and there are massive protests that are being held. Now, having said that, I do not read this as a civil unrest. I do not read this that there's going to be a major uprising, because again, the protest so far is peaceful. They're demanding the government to look up into the recently amended blasphemy laws, and they want their cleric to be relieved from behind the bars. The problem is the entry of hostile actors cannot be avoided, because again, when we talk about the Jaramala incident that happened when Christian community was attacked by a Muslim mob. The police found external factors, raw intelligence agencies' involvement in igniting the violence. And whenever there is sectarian violence or sectarian unrest, there are incidences where external hostile actors play their vital role to trigger those fault lines. And I feel so far these protests are peaceful. They're demanding the government to get involved into this situation. But if this situation sort of gets out of hand, I mean, foreign hands into getting the situation out of hand cannot be avoided or eliminated.
So that is something that the Pakistani establishment, the caretaker government also, I'm sure, is looking into. That's something that they are aware of as well. Do stay on with us. Dr. Monica Verma also continues to be with us on this broadcast. And Dr. Verma, we've seen these kind of protests that have taken place in Gilgit Baltistan, in POK, on many occasions in the past as well. But this time, the kind of chorus that we're seeing, the kind of ultimatums that have been issued of wanting to merge with India or there will be a civil war. Do you think these are empty threats, or this is something that could actually shake the very foundation of the caretaker government there in place?
Well, whatever sources that have emerged on social media, we can't verify a lot of videos that are pouring in, but on the basis of the open sources that are putting out these videos, I think there is enough reason for Pakistani Hukuma to worry, because I don't think their control or their hold over Pakistan occupied Kashmir is going to be as strong as it was in the past. Because, right now my co-panelist was saying that it's just a problem of the blasphemy law where Shias are being targeted and a cleric has been arrested. That's why the protests have erupted. If you look at the position of Pak occupied Kashmir and you actually compare it with Indian Kashmir, see, all comparisons are justifiable. Reason being that it's ultimately one Kashmir, and Pakistan has illegally occupied the territory. So if you compare Indian Kashmir with POK today, the situation itself, it reveals itself. If you look at the situation of development, the status of development in Kashmir, in Indian part of Kashmir versus Pakistan occupied Kashmir, just look at the infrastructure which is there, the number of airports, the kind of hospitals, the kind of healthcare which is available. And in fact, while Indian Kashmir is having a new future for itself, thanks to the repeal of Article 370, that it has been perfectly integrated into India, POK's status in the constitution of Pakistan and in the governance model of Pakistan has never been at ease with itself. In fact, people from Gilgit Baltistan, those who have access to media and can speak to us directly, tell us that due to their politics, the nature of the politics, the Prime Minister is more like a puppet, and most of the decisions are taken from the Pakistani government. They do not have that kind of actor capability to develop themselves. In fact, forget all this. One part of protest that we have missed is that they are protesting against the rising prices of fuel. In fact, Pakistan's economy is completely in doldrums. But who is the bigger victim of it? The people in POK. At least in other cities of Pakistan, they have access to healthcare, they have access to food. The price of food which is there in POK, they don't have access to food. Women they are forced to sell their children. Many OSINT accounts, open source intelligence accounts on social media, especially on Twitter, which is now X, they are revealing what are the difficult conditions of their livelihood in POK. So I think when you
and the kind of economic woes that we've seen across Pakistan, these kind of areas are worst affected more so. But we have to leave it at that. Dr. Monica Verma and Faraz Saeed, thank you so much for joining us here on this broadcast with your perspective. We will keep a track of what's happening in Pakistan and in the neighborhood. But for now, it's time for a quick break here on this edition of Nation at 5.
As India prepares to host the world at the New Delhi G20 Summit, CNN News 18 Town Hall is bringing together the brightest minds to dissect the country's role as a global leader and toast the nation at this pivotal moment. Tune in to this special event as we discuss Bharat's role in driving the development agenda for one Earth, one family, one future. CNN News 18 Town Hall, September 5th, 6 p.m. onwards.
सही
spirituality, this level, these 6 pillars are important for us human beings to achieve a higher consciousness and also break the throes of Maya or material illusion or material nature. That's the spiritual interpretation. You are the supreme primal objective. You are the ultimate resting place of all this universe. You are inexhaustible and you are the oldest. You are the maintainer of the eternal religion, Sanatan Dharma, the personality of Godhead. This is my opinion. This is what Arjuna is saying to Krishna, as Krishna is explaining to him or singing to him the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita, song sung by God. This is what is written by Vedavyasa as part of the Mahabharata. This Bhagavad Gita is seen as the entire summary or précis of all knowledge. It's called the summary of all knowledge, or perhaps the first stepping stone to Vedanta, infinite knowledge. This is chapter 11, verse 18 that I have just quoted, and this is what, as per the ISKCON members believe, and this is their interpretation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Srila Prabhupada describes Krishna, saying that God is personal and Krishna is the manifestation and everything flows from the Krishna. They also quote the Brahma Samhita, which says Ishvara Parama Krishna Anadir Adir Govinda Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda. Meanwhile, ISKCON further says, fearlessness, purification of one's existence, cultivation of spiritual knowledge, charity, self-control, performance of sacrifice, study of the Vedas, austerity, simplicity, non-violence, truthfulness, freedom from anger, renunciation, tranquility, aversion to fault-finding, compassion for all living entities, freedom from covetousness, gentleness, modesty, steady determination, vigor, forgiveness, cleanliness and freedom from envy and from the passion for honor. These transcendental qualities, O son of Bharata, belong to godly men endowed with divine nature. So these are the virtues, or these are the qualities that you need to imbibe to become a higher being, to rise to becoming a Devataha, or closer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is Krishna. And this is Krishna himself telling Arjuna, as in chapter 16, verses 1 to 3. Where did the corruption happen, ladies and gentlemen? Understand, this entire caste system or Varna system, which is being blamed and used, weaponized politically, is a creation of human beings, is a creation of society itself. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself says, Chatur Varnam Maya Shrishta Guna Karma Vibhagasaha. That means on the basis of ability and actions, I have created 4 Varnas that define ability and action. So somebody who's a fighter, who's got physical strength, becomes a Kshatriya because you have the capabilities and the abilities, and your actions show that you're a warrior. Somebody who's got high intellect and wants to understand and pursue knowledge, the pursuit of knowledge becomes the Brahmana, not because of your birth, but because of your ability and action, guna and karma. That's what's described in our scriptures. Our Vedas very clearly say it's not by birth, but by your ability and actions. So who corrupted it? Our scriptures, Sanatan Dharma, or those who claim to be custodians, interpreters, and those who like today, claiming to be champions of humanity. That's human beings. That's the other counter argument that comes through. In fact, Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita turns around and says that all you need to do, he's outlined the 26 different qualities that people need to achieve to become better people, a higher consciousness. And they say this is the eternal dharma. This is what is going to be there forever. It cannot change. This is what upholds society on our planet, or people and humanity on our planet. This is the interpretation that's come through from the Acharyas, those who have studied our scriptures, and of course from the Bhagavad Gita, the book of all books in terms of knowledge and understanding humanity, the connection of science and spiritualism. For those who want to actually equate Sanatan Dharma with malaria and dengue, perhaps they need to go back and read a little bit. Well, a political debate has been stirred due to some comments that have been made around Sanatan Dharma. Now, let's try and get some perspective about what these two words actually mean and we'll also try and share with you some interpretations that have come from a lot of dharmic schools and institutions who have devoted, and especially those people who are scientists or engineers by academics, but they have devoted their lives to spirituality or this quest of the higher consciousness, if I may say that. Sanatan by itself means eternal, that which is perennial, that which can never be destroyed, that which is a reality. Sanatan is forever. So that's the word Sanatan. And if you understand Dharma is often mistaken from the prism of religion, or it's associated with a particular theology or ideology. Dharma, actually, the word Dharma, it's not even Dharma, it's Dharma. Dharma actually means sustenance. Dharayate iti Dharma. That means that which sustains or that which upholds is what is referred to as Dharma. That's why the interpretation of Dharma also gets into duty, gets into righteousness, gets into the realm of occupation, or that which needs to be done continually in order to uphold what? Uphold society, uphold the equation of a Jiva Tattva or Jiva Atma, or some that is the highest being on this planet, that is humanity, a human being with a higher consciousness, because everybody, the larger philosophy is that there is a greater power that directs all of this. There is a law that directs or that dictates or that somewhere orchestrates, controls what happens on planet Earth and what happens with humanity, especially our life. So how do we reach a higher consciousness, a higher plane? That is something which Sanatan Dharma at all points explores. More importantly, Sanatan Dharma also encompasses certain aspects, 6 important pillars of Sanatan Dharma. That is truthfulness, compassion, austerity, cleanliness, charity, spiritual education. These are the 6 pillars. Now, in these 6 pillars, what is it that those who want to derail, destroy and deem it equivalent to dengue and malaria find that they should not have in society? Are they saying that society should not, or humanity should not be truthful? Are they saying there should be no compassion, karuna, empathy, austerity? Is it something, is austerity a bad word or a bad virtue to have? Cleanliness, should we not have cleanliness? Even Mahatma Gandhi espoused it, the entire Swachh Bharat. Our SDGs want cleanliness. If you look at the UN SDGs, and what does it say? It says sustainable development goals, that which will be sustainable, that which will help sustain. Again, dharayate dharma.
Welcome back. You're watching Nation at 5 with me, Poonam Burde. Let's now get you some breaking news that's coming in from our neighborhood, but this time it is from Nepal and not from Pakistan. We're now learning that the Pokhara airport is running into troubles. Remember, this is the airport that was financed by China. The Pokhara International Airport is facing several technical and other challenges, is what we're now learning. Engineering related issues are being reported from this airport. Services have been affected as well. Abhishek, my colleague, joining us, getting us more details. Abhishek, what exactly seems to be the issue, and how long standing has it been as far as the Pokhara International Airport goes?
So this whole project is almost like 8 to 9 years old when this Pokhara Airport was developed, and as part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. This is a unilateral term that China has given to it. When the airport was developed, it was supposed that the international tourism will pick up and the airport will become more beneficial, and the Nepalese side will be able to pay back the loan. China has also provided Nepal with 6 aircraft, which are also now not being used because there is no travel rush towards the airport. And ironically, the Pokhara airport has remained normally a domestic airport that is also with a very low passenger traffic. So this is one of the reasons why the airport has not been able to come up to the finances, and it is regularly in financial losses. And now, when Nepalese side is going to go, Prime Minister of Nepal, President Kamal Dahal, will be visiting China in the last week of September after visiting New York. He'll be directly going to China. And during the talks, it is expected that Nepalese side will be raising the issue of Pokhara International Airport, where it will ask Chinese side to waive off the loan and convert the whole process of reconstruction and development of Pokhara Airport as part of Chinese grant to Nepal.
Right, it'll be interesting to see what the fate of this airport and, of course, China and Nepal's ties are. But for the moment, Abhishek, thank you so much for getting us the latest. We are shifting focus now to the political controversy that has been brewing here back home, and that is to do with the comments that Udhyanidhi Stalin made, a DMK minister and the son of Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin. His comments on Sanatan Dharma and how Sanatan Dharma needs to be eradicated and completely abolished has now triggered a massive storm. Political parties are lashing out, especially the BJP, but many within the India opposition alliance are also now taking pot shots. In fact, the Congress is divided. Many within the Congress say this is a personal comment and have distanced themselves from Udhayanidhi Stalin, but many others have come out and condemned. Is this going to be the next friction point between the India alliance? That's a question many are asking. But first, listen in to what Udhayanidhi Stalin had to say.
மாநாட்டுடைய தலைப்பே மிகவும் சிறப்பாக அமைந்திருக்கின்றது. சனாதன எதிர்ப்பு மாநாடு என்று போடாமல் சனாதன ஒழிப்பு மாநாடு என்றும் நீங்கள் இதை போட்டிருக்கிறீர்கள், இதை அழைத்திருக்கிறீர்கள், இந்த நிகழ்ச்சிக்கு பெயரிட்டீர்கள். அதற்கு என்னுடைய வாழ்த்துக்கள். சிலவற்றை நாம் ஒழிக்கத்தான் வேண்டும், எதிர்க்க முடியாது. கொசு, டெங்கு காய்ச்சல், மலேரியா, கொரோனா இதையெல்லாம் நம்ம எதிர்க்கக்கூடாது, ஒழித்து கட்ட வேண்டும். அப்படிதான் இந்த சனாதனம். சனாதனம் என்பதை எதிர்ப்பதை விட ஒழிப்பதே நாம் செய்ய வேண்டிய முதல் காரியமாகும். எனவே இந்த மாநாட்டிற்கு மிக பொருத்தமான தலைப்பு வைத்திருக்கிறீர்கள், அதற்கு என்னுடைய பாராட்டுகள். நிறைய பேர் இப்போ சில குழுக்கெல்லாம் சமீபத்தில் திராவிடத்தை ஒழிக்கணும், கம்யூனிஸ்டை ஒழிக்கணும் அப்படின்னா இந்த திமுக காரங்களாம் கொலை செய்யப்படுறாங்க. இல்லை, ஒன்றிய பிரதமர் திரு நரேந்திர மோடி அவர்கள் காங்கிரஸ் முக்த் பாரதா அப்படின்னா அவர் என்ன காங்கிரஸ்காரெல்லாம் பிடிச்சி கொலை பண்ண போறாங்களா? இன்னும் சொல்ல போனா நானும் கிறிஸ்தவன் என்று சொல்வதற்கு நான் பெருமை கொள்கிறேன். இன்னைக்கு எல்லா சங்கிகளுக்கும் எரியும். சேகர்பாபு அலுவலக என்றாரு, உதயநிதி போய் நானும் கிறிஸ்தவன்றாரு. நான் சொல்லுவேன் நான் இஸ்லாமியன்னு நான் சொல்லுவேன். நான் படித்தது இதே தன்பாஸ்கோ பள்ளியிலே தான், எழும்பூரில் உள்ள தன்பாஸ்கோ பள்ளியில் படித்தேன். அதன் பிறகு பட்டம் பெற்றது லைலா கல்லூரியில். நான் காதலித்து மணந்தது ஒரு கிறிஸ்தவ பெண்.
இதையெல்லாம் மறைக்கிறதுக்கு தான் மதவாதத்தை கையில் எடுத்திருக்கிறாங்க. மக்களோட மத உணர்வுகளை தூண்டி அதில் குளிர்காய பார்க்குறாங்க. காலம் காலமா இந்திய மக்கள் அனைவரும் போற்றி பாதுகாத்து வந்த ஒற்றுமை உணர்வு என்ற தத்துவத்தை சிதைச்சி இந்தியாவோட அடிப்படை கட்டமைப்பையே சிதைக்க பாரதிய ஜனதா கட்சி முயற்சி பண்ணுது. இது ஒரு பக்கம்னா, இன்னொரு பக்கம் நல்லா இருந்த இந்தியாவின் பொதுத்துறை கட்டமைப்பையும் சீரழிச்சு சின்னாபின்னமாக்கிட்டாங்க. ஒட்டுமொத்த இந்திய மக்களின் நலன் என்பது சில பேரோட.
दो दिन से आप इस देश की संस्कृति का, इस देश के इतिहास का, सनातन धर्म का अपमान कर रहे हैं. इंडिया अलायंस के दो प्रमुख दल डीएमके और कांग्रेस पार्टी, इनके बड़े नेता, एक वित्त मंत्री का बेटा और एक मुख्यमंत्री का बेटा, वो कह रहे हैं सनातन धर्म को समाप्त कर देना चाहिए.
वो उदयनिधि स्टालिन सनातन धर्म को समाप्त करने का उद्घोष करता है और कहता है कि हम सनातन धर्म को समाप्त कर देंगे, एबॉलिश कर देंगे. यह है परिवारवादी घमंडिया गठबंधन का घमंड. आप बोलिए, उदयनिधि स्टालिन ने जो ये बात कही है, ये कब कही? ये तब कही जब 3 दिन पहले मुंबई में बैठकर ये गलबाइयां करके अपनी रणनीति तैयार कर रहे थे. क्या यही रणनीति तैयार हुई है?
I have seen the statement of that politician, and the same statement was also issued by one of the MP of the Congress party, Kartik Chidambaram. And also I have seen that similar kind of, more or less similar kind of statement has also issued some time back by Mr. Kharge. I do not want to condemn that minister from Tamil Nadu because he has exposed himself. But question is, whether Congress party will be still in alliance with DMK.
This shameful silence by Rahul Gandhi, by Congress President Mr. Kharge, by other leaders like Nitish Kumar, Tejasvi Yadav, is not only baffling but shocking, to say the least. Will you go to any extent in pursuit of your vote bank politics? It is also against hatred of Sanatan Dharma.
As we know, think that BJP and RSS jumps into and gives spin to it, and Amit Malviya like people gives a lot. Only their work is to spin and spin only. Therefore, they are trying to divert that into a different thing. As this stand is by the DMK party. DMK as a party, every party has the right to have their stand.
I do not find anything wrong in what he said. One has to fight Sanatan. We are fighting Sanatan. It is an ideological fight. It is a philosophical fight. If Amit Shah wants to fight, let him fight philosophically. Instead of filing FIR, instead of asking people to revolt, I am asking.
वो उनकी व्यक्तिगत राय होगी, हम उससे सहमत नहीं. Any religion that does not promote equality, any religion that does not ensure that you have the dignity of being a human being is not a religion according to me.
उनके फादर अगर चीफ मिनिस्टर हैं तो वो कुछ भी बकवास करेंगे जी.
The India opposition bloc is completely divided as far as Udhayanidhi Stalin's comments are concerned. Many within the opposition ranks have come out and condemned it, including the Uddhav Sena. The TMC is the latest one to have come out and question the kind of comments that has been made by Udhayanidhi Stalin. The TMC says this is not acceptable, going on to condemn this kind of remarks. Listen in.
Whoever he may be, this is nothing related with India alliance. This is only related and confined with the particular statement. The way the comment came, that is most unfortunate. We strongly condemned. He should reconsider his comment.
Reactions are pouring in thick and fast. Maharashtra's Deputy Chief Minister has now come out and waded into this entire controversy. Fadnavis now slamming Udhayanidhi Stalin, calling this nothing but appeasement politics by the DMK.
सर, जूनियर स्टालिन ने एक सनातन धर्म को लेकर बहुत ही आपत्तिजनक स्टेटमेंट दिया. सर, क्या कहना चाहिए?
देखिए, पहले तो इस स्टेटमेंट की पूरे तरीके से निंदा करते हैं. और अब मेरा सवाल ये उद्धव ठाकरे जी से है कि बताइए उद्धव ठाकरे जी, क्या आपको जूनियर स्टालिन ने दिया हुआ स्टेटमेंट मंजूर है? हिंदू धर्म पर, सनातन धर्म पर जिस प्रकार से उसका अपमान किया गया है, इसके ऊपर एक शब्द अभी तक उद्धव ठाकरे जी के गुट ने नहीं कहा है. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि उनको भी मान्य है. इस प्रकार से हिंदुओं का और हिंदुत्व का अपमान हम सहन नहीं करेंगे. ये सारे के सारे लोग केवल तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति करते हैं.
Shifting focus now to the all-important G20 summit that is going to be hosted by India here in the national capital on the 9th and 10th of this month. It's not far away. The countdown has begun and foreign dignitaries, world leaders are going to be pouring into Delhi in just a few days from now. Delhi has turned a fortress. Many roads are off limits. Metro stations are going to be shut, especially on that weekend. There are traffic advisories that have been put forth by the Delhi Traffic Police. My colleague Arunima takes us through all of those restrictions and what Delhi must prepare for come 8th, 9th and 10th.
So what exactly is the preparation as far as security and commuting in Delhi is concerned? From the 8th till the 10th, when the G20 summit is on. Metro could be your main mode of transport, but what exactly should you watch out for as far as metro gates are concerned? These are the metro station gates which will be closed to commuters. The Supreme Court metro station is right opposite the venue of the summit meeting, and therefore that will be shut. Moti Bagh, again crucial, because a lot of hotels where dignitaries will be staying, so that will be taken care of by the Moti Bagh metro station. Avoid that. Bhikaji Kama Place, again a significant metro station whose gates will be shut. Munirka in South Delhi, and the RK Puram area. So Munirka, RK Puram, Moti Bagh, IIT, all the way which leads to Dhaula Kuan. These are areas where metro station gates will be closed down. The Sadar Bazaar cantonment area, again for the same reason. These are areas which will have hotels where the dignitaries are staying, and therefore if you are taking these metros, avoid particular gates which have been notified by the Delhi police, the traffic police. If you're taking the road route, what is it that you should keep in mind? There are regulated zones that have been put in place. There is traffic advisory by the Delhi police. The entire area of Delhi have been divided into regulated zone, into control zone. What is allowed, what is not allowed. In the regulated zone, if you're a bona fide resident, you are allowed to move about. There are specific passes that have been issued as well to people who need to travel around. If you're going to the airport or the railway station, and if you have a genuine ticket, you will be allowed to move about, but be just prepared to have enough time at hand if you're going to the airport or the railway station. Authorized and emergency vehicles will also be allowed to move in the regulated zones. For as far as the second zone is concerned, which is the control zone, again, if you're a bona fide resident living in a control zone, you will be allowed to move in. Emergency vehicles, authorized vehicles will be allowed to move in as well. Delhi police has assured that no essential service vehicle will be stopped in the area where the specific focus will be. The DDU Marg, the Vikas Marg area till Noida Link Road, Pusta Road. You should be aware that these are areas which are in high security zone. The Mahatma Gandhi Marg from Delhi Meerut Expressway all the way up to Kashmiri Gate. This is an area which you should watch out for. Jawaharlal Nehru Marg from Rajghat to Guru Nanak Chowk. Rajghat is also a venue where the delegates could go to pay their respect to Mahatma Gandhi. So again, a no-go area. From Turkman Gate to the BSZ Marg, that is also a road which is seeing closure. The Ranjit Singh Marg from Barakhamba to the Guru Nanak Chowk. This Ranjit Singh Marg will be kept in high security zone. The IP flyover, the Shantivan Chowk, the Kashmiri Gate area, and the Shalimar Garh bypass. So this is an area, again, like I said, 3 parts have been made: the regulated zone, the control zone 1, and control zone 2. So if you're planning to move about through these routes on the 8th, 9th or 10th, from the morning 5 a.m. of 8th till midnight of 10th, you should keep this traffic advisory by Delhi police in mind.
With that, it's time for a quick break here on this edition of Nation at 5, but there's lots lined up for you on the other side, so don't go anywhere.
Brought to you by
Delhi is all set to host the G20 summit level talks when the world leaders will be arriving and discussing about the priorities, challenges, common concerns around the world, especially in the area of development and finances. President Biden of USA will be arriving most likely on 8th of September, and during those 3 days when the leadership from UK, Rishi Sunak will be coming. President Macron is also going to come on Friday most likely, and the leaders are also going to have a bilateral with Prime Minister Modi during the course of 3 days that the event will be taking place. 2 presidents, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping, is not going to attend the summit level talks. The Russian President has sent Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, to represent him, while today the Chinese side have confirmed that Premier Li Qiang will be representing the Chinese delegation at the summit level talks. US President Joe Biden had 2 days ago expressed hope that there will be President Xi Jinping who will be in G20 summit level talks, and probably he was looking for an opportunity to engage with the Chinese side. But now he has expressed some disappointment after he has learned that President Xi Jinping may not be coming to Delhi, and he said that he's disappointed because in the last few months we have seen a regular or frequent engagement being pushed from the US side to have an engagement with China, so that the multiple issues in trade, commerce, finances and defense be dealt with in a more pacified way, and both sides try to engage and understand each other. And we have seen several secretaries, Secretary Blinken, Janet Yellen, recently Secretary of Commerce also went to China. So there has been multiple engagements, and probably US was looking forward to have a small window of opportunity when President Biden could have had a small bilateral with Xi Jinping or the Chinese president. It was not clear whether it was scheduled or not. But we know that with the absence of Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping, it looks like the bloc, the G20, is increasingly divided on the many issues around the world. We have heard Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova clearly saying that the G20 is being dominated by G7 plus grouping and their agenda, and they do not want G20 to become hostage of these issues, and they have said that they will push for global and more consensus agenda, and they will support India's G20 presidency as well. In fact, the Russian side has also said that they will rely on the BRICS member countries in case G7 try to push for their agenda. We have also seen Canadian President Justin Trudeau recently expressing disappointment that Ukrainian President Zelensky is not being invited to G20 summit level talks. India had made it very clear, long time back, that G20 will remain an agenda that will be focused on developmental issues, global issues of finances, climate change, or SDG goals, or women empowerment, or social justice, things that has been the core of G20 grouping, and it will not be given priorities to certain conflicts or the conflict that is happening in one part of the world. And so the security issues is something that G20 has ideally not been discussing, and India did not allow this to become a stage for Ukrainian issues to be discussed. While the after effects of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, like food security, energy security, that will of course remain be a part of major agenda that Indian presidency of G20 is going to discuss around. Prime Minister Modi will also be likely having a dinner hosted for President Biden. We know that recently Prime Minister was in Washington, where the Biden family had hosted a very special dinner as a state guest for Prime Minister Modi. And recently Prime Minister Modi was also in France to attend the Bastille Day as the chief guest of the Bastille Day celebration. And when President Macron will be in Delhi, there could be a possibility that Prime Minister Modi will have something special or some special arrangement for him over a lunch or something. Besides, there will be several bilateral meetings with world leaders. Prime Minister is going to Jakarta on 6th and 7th, where he'll be having a meeting with Indonesian President Joko Widodo. And when the President will be arriving back in Delhi to attend G20 summit level talks, there is scheduled to have a meeting between Prime Minister Modi and the Indonesian President, because Indonesia remains the part of Troika, that is Indonesia, India and Brazil, who will be hosting the G20 summit level talks next year. Lula da Silva will be coming for to represent Brazilian side, the president of Brazil. He just had a meeting on the sidelines of BRICS summit level talks in Johannesburg, also with Prime Minister Modi, and we'll have to see how those meetings will take shape when the frequency of the leaders talk will increase, and how India, Brazil, Indonesia and other part of the South, global South will become a more stronger voice in the context that they want to have some solid reforms at multilateral platforms around the world, especially in United Nations. So while G20 will remain focused on many agendas of development, issues of multilateral reforms, climate change, global security, food security is something that India is going to push for. Social justice, women empowerment is something also that Prime Minister Modi had talked in the past. We talked about at the G20 summit level talks. With all the leaders congregating in Delhi, the issues will be discussed, and one can only hope that there will emerge a consensus despite all the differences that the world leaders have had in the recent past, so that the overall progress, overall development of the world does not become hostage of one crisis happening in one part of the world. Delhi is all set to host the G20 summit level talks when the world leaders will be arriving and discussing about the priorities, challenges, common concerns around the world, especially in the area of development and finances. President Biden of USA will be arriving most likely on 8th of September, and during those 3 days when the leadership from UK, Rishi Sunak will be coming. President Macron is also going to come on Friday most likely, and the leaders are also going to have a bilateral with Prime Minister Modi during the course of 3 days that the event will be taking place. Two presidents, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping, is not going to attend the summit level talks. The Russian president has sent Sergei Lavrov, the foreign minister, to represent him, while today the Chinese side have confirmed that Premier Li Qiang will be representing the Chinese delegation at the summit level talks. US President Joe Biden had 2 days ago expressed hope that there will be President Xi Jinping who will be in G20 summit level talks, and probably he was looking for an opportunity to engage with the Chinese side, but now he has expressed some disappointment after he has learned that President Xi Jinping may not be coming to Delhi, and he said that he's disappointed because in the last few months we have seen a regular or frequent engagement being pushed from the US side to have an engagement with China, so that the multiple issues in trade, commerce, finances and defense be dealt with in a more pacified way, and both sides try to engage and understand each other.
Welcome back to Nation at 5, and let's get you details of the first indigenously developed power plant, which is the indigenously developed nuclear power plant, the electric one at that has now begun initiations here in India. The Prime Minister yesterday spoke about how the operations have begun. This atomic power project is in Gujarat, and this is the announcement of a big scale. Why? Because it's significant. It comes at a time when India is hosting world leaders. In just a few days from now, the G20 leaders come calling. So let's take a look at what exactly this big significant development is and how it is going to impact the discussions that take place as far as clean energy goes at the G20 summit. This is India's first indigenously developed nuclear power plant unit in Gujarat. This is keeping in touch with the energy target that India has. There are two operational units, CAPS 1 and CAPS 2, with a capacity of around 220 megawatts electricity. Construction of unit CAP 4 is currently underway. It is expected to begin operations by March 2024. CAP 3 and 4 are the first indigenously designed pressurized heavy water reactors in this atomic power plant in Gujarat. This is the big development, and that has now begun its operations in Gujarat. The Prime Minister yesterday spoke about it. So why exactly is this important? Let's take a look at how the nuclear future that India really wants, not just for our country, but as far as the global agenda goes. Non-fossil power generation capacity touches 174 gigawatts. There are 22 nuclear reactors with a capacity of 6.7 gigawatts as far as India's target is concerned. SMRs to address geographic limitations of plants is also something that India is looking at. That is something that is perhaps going to come up at the G20 summit as well with world leaders. The aim is to increase the use of renewable energy. It is to ensure that we have a cleaner world. Cleaner energy is really the focus of the Prime Minister and of the country. This is keeping in goals as far as clean energy is concerned. The Prime Minister has often spoken of this on multiple global fora. Let's take a look at the kind of new nuclear reactors that India is going to see in the near future. There is one that is expected to come up in Karnataka, which is in Kaiga. In Gorakhpur in Haryana is another one. Manaswara in Rajasthan is another location where we could expect a nuclear power plant. Manda in Madhya Pradesh is expecting a nuclear power plant as well. So India is on path as far as it's upping its nuclear power capacity is concerned. Most of which is going to be indigenously developed, which is also a big shot in the arm as far as the Atmanirbharta project of the Prime Minister and of this government is concerned. So what can India offer to the G20 nations, and why is this important? Cost-efficient and sustainable reactors is something that India could talk about, could share technology with the world. Compact nuclear reactors to meet the needs is also something that India could speak of as far as smaller economies or smaller nations are concerned. We will be sharing our expertise and technologies with other countries. Remember, from the time where we used to take information, we used to take expertise from other countries, to now being the leader in imparting that knowledge, India has come a long way, and that's really what is going to be on showcase as far as this particular achievement is concerned when we're talking about the meeting of the G20 leaders. So let's now look at how we're pioneering as far as the SMR supplies are concerned. India and US are going to be developing small modular reactors, is what we're given to understand. That's perhaps what is going to be spoken of during the bilateral that takes place on the sidelines of the G20 summit. Small reactors for domestic and export markets is also something that is up for discussion. We could see a pact between India and the United States. Factory-made compact reactors with a capacity of more than 300 megawatts is also something that we are looking at. This is in collaboration perhaps with the United States. 18 out of 22 reactors with a capacity of over 3,000 megawatts is something that India is looking at, clearly wanting to be a pioneer in the change as far as clean energy is concerned. That's something that the Prime Minister has often spoken of and perhaps will be highlighted during the G20 summit as well. With that, it's a wrap from my side here on Nation at 5. Anusha joins you with Viewpoint.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're watching Viewpoint. I'm Anusha Soni. All hell broke loose when Tamil Nadu Minister Udhyanidhi Stalin made a derogatory statement when it comes to Hindu religion and Sanatan Dharma. He compared the religion to diseases like dengue and malaria. It did not stop there. He also argued that the religion intrinsically